Hello, I am Michael Lighten, writer of science fiction and poetic works. I'm reading a chapter for one of my works, so that you can hear how the writing flows and see if you have interest. My works are all futuristic so far, except for some poetry, a two-volume set called Care Teachings for a New World. This reading will consist of Phase 2, the final end. After this reading, I will leave connections in the show notes below. Prologue. The Earth Year, which had been removed by the New Times Council, for those who understand some of my works. Peace reigned temporarily throughout the region as the spider crabs defeated were obliterated in several solar galaxies. Phaes, the twin planet of Earth, completed the decimation of its enemy, but a new threat emerged, hidden deep down, as it erupted to destroy all in its path. Mars vs. Mars quote, devastated by war, Phases, on the brink of annihilation, was introduced to the harmonic aliens. Within 3 generations, much of the devastations of war were gone, bred for many of the Phases. Chapter 1. Mars awakened slowly as if in a deep sleep. He blinked his white eyes rapidly as a realization came to him. He was not sure if he was dead or alive. Nibd opened her eyes abruptly as she noticed herself encased in a tube. What? She thought. Arn sat up slowly as his tube opened. When he looked around, he was not sure what he would find, but the face he saw he did recognize, so that was a plus. What happened? Arn asked. Mars pulled himself from the clear tube and tried to stand, but a bit wobbly. I believe we were duped, Mars said. Arn looked confused. I remember talking with Tent about something, Arn spoke. Then I ended up here with you, Tent said from his tube. My grandson, Mars said with a low voice. He introduced a sleeping agent, placed us in the tubes, and sent us off to space. With his quick shift technology, no one was the wiser. We were there then, we were gone. Mars versus Mars never happened, Boss said. I bet on Earth they wonder what happened to us, Cantata spoke. I believe many suspected foul play, Falls said, as he rubbed his wrinkled pink hands together. Nib looked alarmed as she walked unsteadily. We were holding hands, Nib said with a smile. Morris nodded at the memory with a pleasant smile. We have less than 5 minutes before we emerge in our galaxy. If we end in our galaxy, Arn said. Boss staggered to a nearby chair that hummed and moved with his body. Morris sat next to him as others began to emerge from their tubes. Cantana, Sis, Soros, Ram, Tent, and Folds. According to these coordinates, we should be home in a few minutes, Boss said. How did Mars the second know how to adjust the instruments? He didn't, Mars shifted forward as his chair hummed. He was hoping we had the coordinates preset. That's a rule in building ships for wormholes. We did at least 5 tests before integrating the instruments with the ship, just in case. 2 minutes before wormhole collapse, Arn said as he stared at a blue gauge. Looks like we are carrying a planet killer on our tail, I said. Good, Mara smiled. I was not sure if that idea would have worked about connecting the electronic anchor as we move to the wormhole. We're about to find out if everything ends well for us in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Tent said. Light erupted around them as they emerged near a dark ship. Curses came from all around them as Boss and Mars shifted their ship away as defenses began to rise. The computer prepared to fire destructive laser blasts. Destroyers, Mars said. Thought they were shut down through Phase 4, Orange shouted. Mars raised his hand intensely. Wait, Mars said quietly. They don't seem so active, Orr whispered to himself. When the wormhole collapsed and the planet killer arrived, it crashed into the floating ominous ship so that debris expanded outward and fell about them. Many stared, expecting crab balls to move from another point, attach their hull, and erupt their lives with a quick death. But nothing happened. Seven destroyer ships floated at various points, with a mass as large as a football field. They did not appear active. What happened here? Quintana asked. Phase 4 is still active. We killed Planet 2. Not sure that's where their signal originated. We need to do a sweep of this region on our return home and eliminate any floating ships, Mars said. I'm looking forward to that task, Quintana said. Okay, I will suggest you head the exhibition, Mars said. She looked surprised, but only nodded after a moment's thought. I don't think I can sleep knowing they are still in space, active or not, she said. Phaes was a green planet of yellow and blues, and two moons that turned in a slow rotation. Debris from the recent war floated or burned in the atmosphere, while some not totally burned were destroyed through aerial bombing until nothing was left, just in case. Wide bombs, non nuclear city killers, were dropped on the fallen ships to burn them, in case spider crabs survived to cause havoc. The dropping of the wide bombs decimated evacuated cities made of circular domes of various colors. But the decision to kill any remaining spider crabs won over the decimation of communities. 44 communities still burned for several days, until massive aerial vehicles filled with water and fire suppressant spray eradicated the flames. Misha, Mars' companion, and Bear, Este's companion, oversaw what was left of Phase. Misha, 143 years of age, had phasey features, smooth, light tan skin. She had white eyes, dark hair that hung loosely at her shoulders, and a yellow and purple robe that hung over green flexies, cotton shoes. She acted in a dual capacity with Bear to hold what was left of the Phasey society after a great war with the destroyers. Bear, 493 years young, still trembled from the war, and it showed on her movements and thought patterns, which both appeared erratic. With blue eyes and a pink complexion mixed with a brown tan, she leaned forward as explosions occurred only miles away. Bear was the first companion of Est, who died at 591 years of age during the Destroyer War and left things in shambles as Mars and his crew left to save Earth from its own problems. This incensed Bear to no end and caused thought arguments between Misha and Bear that were ongoing periodically. With a planet filled with citizens who communicated through thought, the movement of mouth was only used for chewing or showing emotional distaste or great joy. Thus, the Phases had small mouths and large heads, as Beer and Misha had, with Phasey guards who stood tall in blue, white, and gold robes, and who carried laser spears. They were trained not to become involved in other citizens' thoughts unless hostility was projected. Then leadership was expeditiously moved to safer areas. As the chamber showed wide screens that stretched for several feet, it was obvious that stress would begin to creep into Bear's and Misha's mind as their advisors stood in the background. Misha, two advisors wore green robes with yellow flexies and stood close enough to throw quick suggestions only when asked, except in moments of stress with Misha, which rose in her when she noticed a ship gliding toward the planet. It doesn't look like a spider crab ship, Misha thought, and it doesn't look like one of our regular food flyers. It looks much smaller and not well put together, Bear thought. Mars. Misha quickly stood. Bear looked surprised with raised eyebrows as she gathered a thought from Illick, her son who acted as an advisor. But she failed to have two advisors because there were none she trusted like her son. Yes, No telling what condition they are in, Bear thought. We should go and meet them then, Misha thought. She left in a wisp of smoke as Bear sighed and looked down. Mother, if Mars is still healthy enough to lead, we may have to step aside. Are you ready for that? Alec asked in thought. 5 tall Phaesy guards followed Misha in a wisp of smoke, along with her advisors Shah and Ta. Bear reluctantly nodded her head as she realized her brief dual reign was about to come to an end. I will accept whatever he desires, she sighed, and left in a wisp of smoke. Now that was chapter 2 on Phaes, the final end. Phaes 2, the final end. Hope you enjoyed that read. In the works, there are 2 more I found in a pocket. One is a science fiction thriller called The Forgotten Case of Rain, still working on that. And the other is A Practical Guide to Living called Communications in Love. So these books are at Amazon.com, Google Play Books, and Drafted Digital, which is affiliated with Barnes and Noble and Apple. There are a variety of other books that's also hooked with it. Tolino and Vivlio, Gardner's Smashwords, Hobo Everand, Overdrive, Adilo, and Borrow Box. Market Palace, I believe that's Palace Market, on Reverse and Fable. Those are several connections to bookstores that if you decide to get that. So this is Michael Lighten, and I hope to see. Can't see you in audio. Check you out in the next audio.